She's humble, and all she does is live out her faith in the midst of joy and in the midst of suffering. Welcome to another edition of My Faith with Homer and Pip. I'm Tommy Pipines. Steve, the Homer True, is the man who had the vision with the Holy Spirit, I believe, for this podcast, which we hope and pray inspires and encourages each of you in your own faith journey. Our marvelous producer is Brent Young, and I'm speaking of marvelous and absolutely beautiful today, Karen Matuszak Bohlman. Karen, great to have you with us, and we pitch it right off to Homer, who's going to tee it off for us as he always does.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
Karen, Tommy always has incredible stories, so I know the story is going to be incredible. My question is always the same, and that is, where do you choose to start your faith, the story of your faith? Where do you want to begin?
Well, I think I would begin the story of my faith and the way I feel and approach life would have started through my mother, actually. She was a very loving, giving, forgiving, charitable person who did really live her faith and did so many good things for so many people, even though we did not grow up with a lot, money or what have you. She was always there helping people get seeing eye dogs and working through the electric company auxiliary program to do so many things for people who were widowed or had sick children. And I grew up in a family where cystic fibrosis was very prominent. And I lost 3 siblings to cystic fibrosis and have lost a cousin to CF. And I think that really impacted my life, especially as I grew into an adult. I really began to realize that time is short, but I think more than that, I learned to really just forgive people, give them another chance. Come on, just try, you know. And I think as I went to where I worked for Disney for 28 years, and I learned as a manager to really live that out, because people make mistakes, including myself, many times, and they need another chance. Everybody needs another chance now and then. And I think that all stemmed from that, in realizing just get over it, just get past it, because it's not worth caring or hurting somebody else because they made some kind of an error or a mistake. And I've been accused of being too nice. I've been accused of looking past it and coddling some people to grow and change in their development from a young adult into somebody who knew how to manage their career and their life.
Was going to church a part of it? Was it your mom? What convinced you about forgiveness?
Cystic fibrosis, I would honestly say. And I worked for 7 years as a respiratory therapist. I worked for Milwaukee Children's Hospital and St. Mary's Burn Center. And what prompted me to go into that was that I had CF in my family. And at that time, Milwaukee Children's Hospital, which was downtown Milwaukee then, was the Cystic Fibrosis Center. And seeing my little brother pass away in that hospital, I just was drawn to it and was accepted into an apprenticeship program that they used to have run by Ken Flagler, which was an excellent program to become a respiratory therapist. In dealing with so many small children with so many issues, especially CF, you just look at life differently. You approach things differently, and it's not so casual.
It would have been understandable if you had been, and many people probably have been, bitter to God, given the story, the life that you got, that your family got. We haven't talked that long, but that just seems so foreign to you based on what you said to this point. Explain.
Because my parents, when the first child that they lost, I was probably about 3 or 4 years old. And I saw my parents just kept moving forward. They were not bitter. They were not hateful. They lived a joyous life. Yes, they went to church. Yes, I was brought up in the Catholic faith and received all my sacraments and did all of those things. And it was a silent but totally accepted part of our life. It wasn't like we went out and advertised we were Catholic or anything like that. It just was just part of our everyday life, part of the fabric of our everyday lives. And as we, in 8th grade, then I lost my brother David to cystic fibrosis, and my parents just kept moving forward. And so many people said to them over the years, and then losing my sister Dawn, how did they stay as positive as they were? And I know my mother and father, they were very loving. They held hands until the very end. I mean, when they sat and watched TV, they held hands. There was love there. And I grew up with a big, loving family. I really did. And they just moved forward. My mother would always say, with your dad, when things are bad, they're only half as bad. But when they're good, they're twice as good. And they really kept a positive attitude about everything. And I think that just, morphed onto me, and I think onto the rest of my family as well.
I would also assume that in your job, you dealt with people that were not happy and had it much more difficult to understand what was going on. Is that true?
Well, that's very true. I mean, in my job, let's face it, I worked with people from all over the world. And I worked with people that were, were children during the war in Poland, in France, in Czechoslovakia, in Germany. I mean, I worked with women that were older than me that all experienced that. And they experienced wartime, and some of them were bitter, and some of them just learned to grow and grow past it. And I think, as a lot of people would say to me, Karen, could you come here and bring your calm? Because I think that's pretty much what sustains me, is just staying calm and trying to rationalize, how can I make this better? How can I help this person and make this person's life a little better, or bring some joy into this person's life totally unexpectedly? Right now, I'm working with a beautiful woman from Switzerland. She's 90, and I help her out a couple days a week, and I just love her. And I just went over there early December, totally unexpected, and put up a Christmas tree and had presents and decorations for her house. And I think it gave me a whole lot more pleasure than what it gave her, but it was a thrill. It's just little things like that they make me happy. When I can really do something to impact someone's life and take it beyond expectations, which I learned from my father. If you're going to do something, do it and then do it again and make it perfect.
What is your relationship with God? I'm not asking how often you go to church, you can answer, but when do you feel closest to God? What's the aspect of God in this incredible life and attitude that you've had?
Well, I think that, boy, that's a big question. I think that I talk to God every day. I mean,
Every day.
Every day. Of course, I
Can you
say
tell us
my
how
prayers.
it starts?
And I talk to him like, I don't understand. I don't understand this. I don't understand why you took my sister away from me. Why did these things happen? Why did you take my parents' dog from them when they lost all their children? I think those were times that were really hard for me to talk to God, because I have to admit, those were times when I felt very frustrated with him. And my parents had so much pain. Why did they need to suffer anymore? And I think that just in talking to him, and I do talk to him during the day, I mean, I probably talk too much to myself, but I think that, it is there and it's a constant. And I do talk to him, and I do believe that after this comes your life with God. I truly do believe that. And I don't always understand what's happening at the time or why it happened. I think, but it comes around full circle. It really does. Like when I left my job in 2009, my parents got sick, and my dad got Parkinson's, and I moved them down here with me so I could be with them. And I believe that was all guided through God. And I really do. I think it all was meant to happen in the universe, and the universe, let's face it, is all ruled by God as far as I'm concerned.
When you talk to him, I'm curious as to how you feel he responds. What answers do you feel you've gotten, or how does that follow up?
Probably, I think sometimes I don't understand the rationing when I talk to him or ask about different things. I don't understand, and I'll say, God, I know you've got a purpose for this, but I honestly don't get it. I don't know why this is happening. But then it seems like later you understand it so much more clearly, like with the job, and then suddenly everything happening with my parents and being there to help them. And there were times, that were very difficult because my father was so very ill. It was very difficult. There were times I would just say, I don't get this. This is so hard. I don't understand why you've given me all of this. They say God doesn't give you more than you can handle, but I don't know if I can handle this. I'm very fearful that I can take care of my parents properly. But looking back, I know I did. I mean, I did more than the best that I could do. I mean, I know that now. I mean, like my dad was so sick, sometimes it was really hard to just even put him in the bed. And I would have to sometimes use my knee and scoot up his butt and get him in the bed. And he looked at me one time just startled, and I said, Daddy, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to do the best here that I can do. And he looked at me and he said, I know you are, and I love you for it. And that made it all worthwhile.
I have other questions, but I want to give Tommy a chance. So, Tommy, take it away for a little. I'm ready for a return, but I want
as I say, if you've got questions, I want to hear them. Karen, I'm listening to you and Homer on My Faith with Homer and Pip, and I'm learning so much about you. And I've been blessed to get to know you over the years through your late and amazing mother, who I miss our conversations with her weekly. Her life was elongated because you moved her down there after Dad passed away. And I just wonder if you can talk about that. You're constantly loving, you're constantly serving. What did you get out of that? What did you learn specifically from your time with Mother and the suffering that she incurred, not only with her health at the end, but certainly throughout her life?
I think I got out of it patience, a lot of patience, just loving when you don't think you can love anymore. I mean, the people around you, the things that are going on, look for the joy in things. Just don't settle on and, just don't think about what's bad and what's sorrowful, but what can you do to make it better? Yes, my mom had to walk with a walker and she had some hard things, but I still made sure she lived her life to the fullest. If it was concerts, if it was the ballet, if it was comedy shows, I got her out. And even though we struggled with the physicalness of her being able to move around and do things, the joy that I gave her, I truly believe, and I mean this, it gave me more joy, I think, sometimes than it did her. because I just wanted her to be pampered and loved. She had to take care of so many children and the hardships she and my father endured. I didn't want her to have any of that. I didn't want her to have any of that in the years that she was with me. And she was with me 9 years. So we were friends, and she was always my mom. And as I told her, Mom, when I look at you, I don't see someone who's in their 80s and having difficulties. I just see my mom who's having a hard time with a few things, and I just want to make it better. I just see you, my mom. And she thanked me for that, and that's how I really felt. It is how I felt. I just wanted to make her happy.
And you certainly did. Karen, so many of us, speak for myself, struggle with self and learning self-sacrificial, Christ-like love. And yet there doesn't seem to be self in you. You're all about others. And is that your faith? I think it's obviously your upbringing and what have you, the gifts that God's given you, but there's something about you're always putting others first, as we're called to do. Isn't that ever hard? It sure is for me.
Yeah, well, of course, sometimes it, was hard with my family. There were times it was hard because of the horrible things that had happened with all the losses in my family. There were times when, especially when I was much younger, I would feel like, well, especially like when I was getting married and my sister was in Children's Hospital and she was having surgery on Christmas Day. I was getting married the end of January, and I needed my mom. I wanted my mom, and she had to be all about my sister Dawn in the hospital, of course. And there were times I felt, upset and angry about that. And I was probably putting myself first then. And I still remember it. I mean, it still comes to mind when you say that, because I still feel guilty that at that time I felt that way. Understandably so, I guess, on both parts. I mean, I was young. What was I, like 20, and didn't really know much about the world. I was very much in a cocoon in Milwaukee. There's no doubt about it. I grew up in a cocoon.
All right, Homer, I know you want to fire away, so.
I just know how many people are going to watch, listen to this and go, Karen, I want to be like you. I have stuff happen. I just can't handle it like you. It's my belief, my theory, and you can agree or disagree, that is God's, one of his greatest gifts and strengths, that he can create peace of mind regardless of how bad things are, because bad things happen to everyone. And I would say that's part of Karen. She's been open. She's talked to, listened to God, and he has given her a peace of mind, which may be different than yours, but you will get it if you ask. His record is incredible. To me, close to 100%. Do you buy my theory, or is your story really a little different?
No, I buy your story. I believe it is one of the gifts that God gave me, to be like mothering to people and loving people at all ages. I did it. I mothered my mother from childhood on, and my sisters and brother. It's just who I am. It is part of who I am. I do believe that comes from God. I think the greatest gifts he gave me was that, and my creativity, and to live my life as an artist. I mean, I really believe that those are my two greatest gifts from God. There's no doubt about it.
Even given all the tough things that have occurred to your life.
Yes.
You still hold on to those at the top.
I still hold on to that. Yes, I absolutely do. I strive to be happy and find happiness with other people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have my days when I'm depressed and down too. I mean, I'm only human, but on a whole, I would say I really do try to find things that make me happy, as by making other people happy, or and that goes for animals too, people and animals. That's just the way I am.
I will steal this from Tommy because he would ask it, but he can add to it. But he says it, and I think it's so important to the people that hear, listen, and aren't like you. What would you tell them is the first thing they have to do? What would be the start to handle things in their life the way you have handled incredible things in your life with your approach, forgiveness, attitude, all of it?
If you don't forgive the other person or the other situation, they don't care. That's not going to bother them. But when you carry around that anger and that hatred in your heart, in your mind, it hurts you way more than it hurts the other person or that situation. So you just have to learn to forgive and move forward, not only for them, but for yourself. Oh, I can't hear you.
When now, or when in your life can you hear me now?
Yes.
When
Yes.
now or in your life have you felt closest to God?
So closest. It was probably during the losses in my family. It was probably then. And when I'm in, there's a little church in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, and when I'm in that church, I just I feel home. There's something about that little tiny, not their big new church, but the little one that's 180 years old, St. Matthew's. When I am in that church, I feel like I'm home and I am closest to God. And maybe it's because that's where services were held for, funeral services as well as marriage, baptisms, my parents retaking their 50th wedding anniversary vows. They were all significant moments in my life. So I would say it would be when I'm in that building. I really do feel that way there.
Tommy, it's all yours.
Well, what stuck out in an answer from Karen to one of your questions, Homer, is that you feel closest not only in that church, but you mentioned before that, Karen, in the midst of the suffering. And for many of us, we're angry, and as Homer said earlier, we're bitter, we want to run away, and yet it's as if God is drawing you closer into his arms, and that helps you get through. And even as you say, in those times of depression and just being human, and do you feel his presence more so than ever in the difficult times, knowing that he's close to you and wants to bless you through it all?
I know, I don't think I always know at the time that he's blessing me through it all. I think that he's there, and I think that he has sent his angels, spirits, or whatever you want to call it, and I do feel that they are surrounding me and coddling me and telling me, you will survive this, you will be all together again. And I think that he sends his angels, I think, to be with me. That's what I think. I think he's too busy to be with me all the time.
Well, you have an MVP, all-star, Pro Bowl caliber guardian angel, that's for sure, Karen, and you live out your faith in such a wonderful way. I'd like to bring up, if I may, the late, great John Matuszak, your brother. It's been a long time now since he's been gone. I had just one brief meeting, and I sensed a man with a heart even bigger than his incredible frame, this former football star. Of course, his life played out on a public stage, and we all have our shortcomings. When that was going on, and when people were criticizing the Johnny that you knew so well, was your faith impacted in that regard, positively or negatively?
I know I would pray every night for my brother. Every night I would pray that nothing would happen to him and my parents wouldn't have to endure that, because I know he was walking on a slippery slope. And but that was only one side of my brother. That was the caricature that he actually became, he morphed into. But when he was home, he was a totally different person. He was Johnny, he was John. And he was very much, we had the same upbringing. We had the same kind of love for each other and our family and our cousins and aunts and uncles. I mean, we were all so close. I mean, my cousins were my brothers and sisters, and they still were with my brother John, even though he rose to fame. But he he did walk a dangerous line. There's no doubt about it, and got caught up in so much that was out there with drugs and alcohol. And I mean, he couldn't walk into a place and somebody wanted to buy him a drink or give him this or give him that. And I think he just gave into a lot of it, living out this character that he had become, the twos. And I think that, you know, God gave him a lot of chances. God gave him everything. You know, he was so talented in so many different things. He played a wonderful trombone. You know, he was Wisconsin's outstanding athlete. You know, he was a speed reader. He had a photographic memory. And then I had to be behind him, this little artsy fartsy girl. It wasn't easy, believe me.
Yeah, yeah. So is it your faith then, through the loss of Johnny, through other siblings, through your parents, Karen, through all the adversity, that just keeps you going and gives you peace of mind, the belief in your heart and your soul that this life is not the end?
Yes, I absolutely believe this life is not the end. I absolutely believe that. And all you can do is, you know, try to stay positive. I know I keep saying that, but it is really the key for me. And try to find out, okay, all of this happened, but what good came out of it? And what is, you know, why was this person taken at this time, you know, or whatever, and try to figure it out. Just try to keep moving forward with everything. I don't know that I have a really perfect answer for it. I really don't, but I do believe in God wholly and completely. And I do believe I have angels around me. And I do talk to those angels as well.
This has been fascinating. I think I'm going to call you Saint Karen now, if you don't mind. Homer, anything else from you, good friend?
No, other than that, you're looking for a perfect answer. Your life is the perfect answer.
Oh, thank you. That's
why
kind.
you hear people that talk of a positive attitude that's different from people that have lived it, and the experiences that you've had to live through. And we observe you today, and your face, your smile tells us of the positive thoughts that you talk about. And if I didn't know of your story, I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe it. I'd say you can't handle so much so often. I mean, how many times did you say to God, all right, this is enough. We're at number 7 or number 8. Come on.
I know, right. It's true. And I have said that. I cannot take anymore. You know, I lost my brother to drugs and alcohol, my brother-in-law, and my husband. He didn't die, but he was lost to drugs and alcohol. So it's really a shame, and it is sad. And those are things people are dealing with on an everyday basis all across the world. There are those kind of losses too. And you have to understand that, you know, you have to make the choice. This is not what I want in my life. You know, I have to remember the best about all those people and know that at their core, that's not who they really were.
Tommy?
I think it's very hard to beat that. And Karen, I want to share this, if I may. When we made contact yesterday about your being so kind as to come on and on short notice, you said, you know, I'm not going to get into Bible verses, and you know what? You are the Bible to other people.
Oh,
that's I mean, I don't know any other way to say it, but you are, and that's as close as many of us will get to the word. Well, it's heartfelt. I think Homer would agree, and anyone who's been privileged to listen to you or who will. So on behalf of Homer and Brent Young, our producer, I just can't thank you enough. It's been especially wonderful for me having gotten to know you over the years, and Mom and John.
And my
So
pleasure
thank
as
you.
well. You
Thanks,
brought
Karen.
great joy to my mom. She loved you as you were a good friend and a
She's-
constant friend.
Yeah, she's cheering for you in heaven, that's for sure, with everybody else. And what a party we'll have one day. Karen, thank you so much. God bless you. And thank you so much for sharing your faith story.
Well, thank you all.
Okay, thank you. This has been
Have a-
My Faith with Homer and Pip. Yes, please go right ahead.
That's it.
Happy New Year, right? Yeah.
Happy New Year
okay.
to all of you. Exactly. And thank you for giving me the pleasure of doing this.
It was just super. For Homer and Brent, I'm Tom Pippins. My Faith with Homer and Pip. We hope that you have been inspired by Karen's share and so many others. And we just want to give glory to God. And that's what this young lady did today. We thank you so much. God bless you, everybody. And as Karen said, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.